Set now.
Okay.
Yes.
Welcome to the Monday, May 4th Hartland Selectboard meeting. It is 5:30. Our first order of business are the Select Board minutes from April 20th. We have both a set of regular minutes as well as executive session minutes. I would entertain a motion to accept those.
So moved.
Thank you, Tom.
Second.
Thank you, Clyde. Any discussion?
I guess it's been noted that Race was not here last time.
Yes.
Yes, and we have the correct name of the person who was here. People set?
Yep.
Okay. Jim?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to the orders through today, May 4th. Again, I need a motion to accept them.
I move to accept the orders through today.
Thank you, Clyde. A second.
I'm a second.
Thank you, Chase. Any discussion?
I was glad that I got 2 copies of the orders. Which...
Yeah, me too. I thought it was a test to see if I was really awake.
So the property tax payable to the school for 7627.
Martin's going to answer that question for you.
What is that?
So in September, I get a report from the state of Vermont that shows how much we owe the school.
Right.
Let's say it's $9.1 million. I withhold some of that money. I pay them half in September, the other half in February. The month of April, they balance out that report with all the homesteads and everything that's finally gotten filed through October 15th. I either end up owing the school money or they owe us money. So this year we ended up owing them another $7,200.
Okay. Thank you.
But I withheld some of that money, so it's other money, so as a payable. So I knew that liability was going to come due.
And then on that same page, seems like it was asbestos abatement.
Yes.
So which building are we
That's
talking
North
about?
Hartland. That's the North Hartland School.
North Hartland School.
Yeah.
That was it.
That was it.
Cheap.
Easy. Yeah. That was, again, it was the window glazing in the sink.
Great.
Actually, I have no questions myself.
Under Amazon flags, what kind of flags did you buy?
American flags.
You didn't get them. We used to buy them through Nelson. We don't anymore.
We bought just one flag for the flagpole.
We do buy the other ones from Nelson.
But he has flags that size to sell too.
I did not realize that. I will know that for next time.
Who's Nelson?
Nelson Bugby. We buy the flags that we hang on the telephone poles.
Is he
And
making
also
on the side or
cemetery
is that trading and stuff? And then there was a summer camp vacation refund, so somebody signed up for summer camp and decided the kid isn't going? Is that what that is?
Yep. It's just a refund.
Related to the budget, but unrelated to this, someone called me today wondering if we're going to go out to bid for the mowing work on town property that TJ Enterprise presently does.
Yes. So
TJP
is under contract for the rest of this year, so we'll put out a new bid next winter,
Thanks.
late winter. June.
Why they call me and not you? It's beyond me. I can never answer.
If you want an answer, you go right to a select person.
Right.
Okay.
Not in my case.
Any other questions about the? Okay, all in favor of approving the accounts payable for today, May 4th, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. John, I think we've agreed there are no adjustments to the agenda.
No adjustments to the agenda.
Okay. Let's move on to public comments.
Just one question. Do we have a policy on signs being placed in our green space up here?
What on the green space?
Signs. There's a sign out there. It's been out there for weeks in our green space. New Era Salon. I don't think it's anything local.
Is it in the triangle across the street? I don't remember seeing it. I think we have a sign policy that you can't advertise on town property, so we can pull it.
It's not town property though.
State property.
That's
state property.
State right.
They generally will pull them.
Right, they would probably like, I've pulled
Nope.
political signs out of there before.
I think we should pull it.
We maintain it, we mow it, we
Okay.
put the lights in there. Sure, we'll go in.
Go for it.
I don't have any problem going and walking across the street. Yeah.
Pull it up on the way home.
Sherry, if you want to pull it out,
Let him
by all
get in
means.
trouble, don't get in trouble yourself.
Yeah.
Make sure there's no wires connected to it.
Okay. Any comments online?
Nope.
I would like to take a moment to say thank you to all of our town citizens who worked on Saturday or before to make Green Up Day a very successful day. Want to especially thank Ginny White, who's been with Dean Greenberg, running the operation for a very, very long time. This year, Jen White, who represented the Conservation Commission, was helping Ginny. Nancy Johnson and Pam Crane did the really tough work of sorting cans, taking, I don't know how much money they make, but they sorted through. And then to BJ and the crew for helping to set up and getting the new posting safety signs out there. So that's nice. We are going to, I'm going to recognize Matt Dunn for public comments. We've had a discussion on a charging station, but it hasn't been an official agenda item, so I think we're going to handle it under public comments. Matt, the floor is yours.
Sure. So, thank you. This all stemmed from an employee that I had at the Center on Rural Innovation who lives in Western Mass and commutes up 1 to 2 days a week and has a electric vehicle. And her option when she's up here is to figure out leaving the office, going down and trying to charge it at the thing down by Harpoon. Not particularly convenient because she has to then sit with it as she's waiting for it and the whole 9 yards. And so I understood that there was funding that was available in the state for commuters to be able to have charging stations. And it turned out that the funds for that had been replenished a year ago, and they have resources that are available. And it's specifically for nonprofit and government entities that want to build the infrastructure for people who are working in those places. So get an exploratory, hey, this was something that we would be interested in looking at. And they got back to us and said, we think this is a good candidate for it if you did it in partnership with the town, if it's going to be on town property. The parameters around it is that it needs to be signed that is intended for the use by the entities that are the applicant, the entities that have potential commuters that could use the charging station during work days and hours. It doesn't mean that after hours. Yep.
Can you help me with that? I'm not sure if I followed that. So is it for public use or only for the applicant's use?
It is, you're supposed to sign it for the put signage on it for the applicant's use because it's meant for commuters. It's not a public charging station funding source. They don't have money for that. But they do have money for employers who have people who are commuting to the location. So that's where the funding is. In between the rebates and the funding they have, they would cover the entire cost for up to 2 levels 2 charging stations. And so, you know, we had a conversation about that and said, hey, it would make a big difference for certainly the employee that I have. We have another employee who is considering buying an EV. I think it's probably a trend that will continue, particularly with the gas prices where they are. And there are different options for where it could go. We, as an organization, don't have, as you know, our own parking because we turned over the land over there to the town. I don't think the ideal place would be immediately in front of the office building or out here for both aesthetic purposes, but also for town employee use as opposed to other uses. So my sense is both from where the utility pole access is the easiest, because that's a piece of the infrastructure, and for aesthetic purposes would be the parking lot back here to be able to set those up. So it would be, the articulation on the sign would be during the work day of non-holiday or weekend days. And the enforcement of that is also, as I understand it, up to the municipality. So if there was a major event that was taking place on a work day during the day, like town meeting, there could be a sign put on it that said, this is to cover for that. I would assume that someone who works for the town who might have an EV would want a space, but that would be the idea. So the request is consideration for doing it, since obviously it would be on municipal property. Just trying to accommodate, if they had funding for just public EV station charging, that would be perfectly fine. They have it, though, unfortunately, dedicated to nonprofit organizations that have employees who could use it, and municipalities. And the idea of doing it combined would be at least more optionality than the current setup. So they have tentatively set aside resources for this. They said they have the money available. They wanted to carve it off. There is no commitments been made by anyone for that. So if we said, yeah, no, we're not interested, no harm, no foul, I just think it's an opportunity. If we disappeared, like if we decided the Center on Rural Innovation wasn't going to continue, the town would end up with the infrastructure, right? It would still be there for whatever purpose you all wanted to use it for. There's also options that they shared of software that you could include that could allow for recouping the cost of the electricity that's used and billing people back, or having a pass card, something that, and I didn't get into too much detail of that, so if there's concern over the cost that's associated, there's a way to actually have that be a bill back mechanism. And they did get into some detail that I would want to turn over to John to think through, but they would, do whatever repairs to, if you have to go through any of the concrete or the surfacing to fix it all up and make it look nice at the end.
Okay. Now, the way the project was first talked about here did not have the restriction of only town employees working in the town. So that's a bit of a curve that I hadn't really been.
Well, it has to be, as I understand it, anyone who wants to talk to the folks there, they're super friendly, but it's restricted to entities that have employees who might use it. It's not just a public, they don't have money left because they used it very quickly for just public charging stations. So it has to be associated with an entity, and it has to be a nonprofit. They also don't have money for for-profit entities.
So you're a nonprofit?
Yes. Yep. So we're a 501c3 that would be eligible to apply. The town would also be able to do it, and the idea is that you could expand it to include both of those entities and any employee associated with the town, which I assume could include the library.
Can I ask one more stupid question? If you're a nonprofit, right, couldn't you just apply independently and put it in a building?
So we don't have a place on the building where we could access it to the parking space. You have to have they want to make sure that they have a space.
So you can't
that's
run a
dedicated.
cord across the sidewalk.
They're not that long.
I haven't employed this.
They're not long enough. They haven't.
What?
They're not long enough.
Yeah. And it's in level 2, I mean, it's not an extension cord, it's actually a
Heavy
pretty,
duty cord.
So would it be through software that employees would sign up to use that charger and then
Correct.
sort of some,
which I think is, you could have on your phone. You could also, if the town wanted to, the scenario that was mentioned, if the town wanted to say this is free for town employees, you could have that, and it would just, you would have a passcode to allow it to work. Our employees would pay for it, whatever way you wanted to do it.
right?
If there are others, nonprofits in town that want to also participate, I think that would be fine. I don't think they mind having, I just don't know of any other than the Sustainable Food Lab, which is, I think, too far away for it to be
Right.
relevant, but
You know,
that's, it's odd in its scope and parameters,
Right.
and that, but it still seems like an opportunity where they would pay for it.
I checked with Rob Anderegg recently, and during the Connecticut River Dam renewal process, it's no longer Hydro-Quebec, but it's some subsidiary of Hydro-Quebec that was potentially looking to add support to the towns on the river. And they were talking about support for infrastructure like we're talking about here. But that seems to still be only a dream at this point. Well, I'd be anxious to hear about others. My comment was, I didn't realize there was a restriction here for who could use it.
It's a restriction, I think, for who can use it, and you want to clarify it, during the workday on I believe anyone could use it after work hours
Okay.
and on weekends.
And there would be a billing mechanism set up at that point that.
Exactly,
Okay.
that there's a software that can actually bill for other
Okay.
people. I believe that's the case. They're trying to encourage employers, and in this case, nonprofits and municipalities, to encourage their employees to have electric vehicles,
Right.
I think is the
Okay.
goal.
Yeah, we'd have to take it as an agenda.
Hold on,
item in the
I want
future.
to.
We'd have to take this as a future agenda item. I think that's just public comments.
And I'm guessing that this is the location that you're looking at because it's closer to your place versus the library.
Correct.
So the library, is that too far away?
I mean, it would be better than nothing, but
It would
the
be,
trudge in February up from the library, depending on the morning, is not ideal. But that would be the preference.
Was there any, I mean, I just came on board here a couple years ago. Was there any agreement made with you about the parking in front of your place when this went in? What was the agreement?
So the agreement was, I turned over, so the land with the building actually extended into 2.5 of the current spaces. And the agreement was I turned over that land to the town in exchange for the town agreeing to maintain the parking spaces. But that is not assigned to us.
Did it give the people that are working at your place permanent use of the parking spaces?
Nope.
Do they have any rights to tell
Nope.
someone else not to park there?
None.
None? Okay.
And yeah, and anything you can do to make that public would be helpful, because some
it just
people
was.
think that somehow it was, parking spaces that we got for that building's use. And it's
I think that was a
not.
good trade-off for the town at the time. I believe that was good. Yeah.
So this would be for 2 chargers?
You could do just one, but they would cover the full cost of 2. And I figured if you're doing it, you might as well do 2. But we only have one person who currently has need for it,
Right.
but I wouldn't be
So
surprised.
being in a level 2, you're probably looking at 4 to 6 hours to charge your car.
Correct. Yep.
So you're pretty much there most of the day.
Correct.
So what's the usage like in that driveway parking lot?
Monday through Friday, 8 to 4.
Yeah.
At best, it's half full.
But at times it's full. It's full with cars from when you are having large-scale meetings. And I've come here for a meeting and
I would say there are less than 10 days a year where the parking lots are full.
yeah, okay.
And, we don't, so again, I'm an EV owner. We don't pay for employees' gasoline, so I think there would have to be a charge mechanism.
Right, the mechanism that was,
That would do, and then you,
Right.
because the whole thing is a series of apps.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many apps on my phone because there's no consistent charging. So,
Part of what I had been really hoping before I heard some of the fine parts of this discussion is that we would use Foster Meadow. That as a town, we're trying to encourage usage. The library, the town oven, afternoon baseball and soccer games, and the walking path. I still would like to sort of think about that. There is the goat path that wouldn't be very usable from the back of the barn up to the side of Three Corners Market in the winter. We had talked with the owner, but we haven't heard anything more about upgrading that. Would not be ADA accessible, but it would be walkable. So my hope would be that if we went forward with this project, that we'd actually would locate it down in Foster Meadow. I don't know what the signage would be. Would there be a sign at the interstate pointing toward an EV charger, and would that EV charger become part of the EV charger?
No, because it's not a public charger, so we're not going to sign it. We're not going to encourage people to go because it is intended for municipal.
I feel like we're getting into
Right.
a little more, too much detail from
Right.
public comments right now. We should put it on for agenda item and circle back to it.
So prior to that, what are the questions that we want to have answered before becoming an agenda item so we can have a complete discussion on the topic?
Is what? What is?
What are there questions that we want to have answered prior?
Oh,
Yeah, locations, timeframes that it can be used, who can use it, how do you'd have to have an app, so you'd have to be able to get into your app to get to be able to use it, so it would be only given to those that have that capacity to use it, right? So you could be blocked, it would block everybody else out. So just your normal person could not be able to get into it. Just your average Joe could not use a charger.
I want you to talk to the
Right,
the
so,
folks who
Matt,
coordinate.
Those are the questions we're gonna be asking.
Can you send me their contact information?
Absolutely.
So I'll talk to them
Yeah.
and try to get some of these questions answered.
Yeah.
And we'll put it on for, what's the time frame?
So they are hoping to deploy, have harder commitments by I think the 1st of July.
Okay.
okay.
So there's some time.
Okay. Okay.
but That's their time.
Martin and Sherry, can you wait with your questions until we get more information?
Well, would you consider putting something over it and locking it up so that you're not having people park in the wintertime in these spots overnight charging?
Well, that's why I was thinking Foster Meadow.
Yeah, and that's the kind of questions you want
Yeah.
for the meeting. Thank you very much.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Martin,
Great.
No, Tom answered the question.
okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
No, thank you guys for
Thank
hearing.
Yeah, thanks. It's actually,
Thank you for explaining that, Matt.
it's a direction we should be going in, so I'm glad. Thank you for that.
I also think it's a moment in time where there's funding available.
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if we're going to do it.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Any other public comments?
Nope.
There is nothing on that? Okay. Then moving on to old business.
Is it town plan? I know we didn't adjust the agenda. Can we swap the order of agenda items though?
For what?
I think given that John is here, the discussion on the pumper tanker funding will be shorter than the discussion on the town plan.
I disagree.
Okay.
Because the funding with the,
My meeting got canceled.
well, John, it's been tied into the Quechee Road as well.
That's what I understand.
And it's going to be, Are you in agreement, anyone? I think we should stick with it.
I'm neutral. I think we could figure out the fire truck thing pretty quick.
Okay,
But
it should be shorter than the town plan, for sure. Okay, John, you're up.
Sure.
So we are now talking about municipal borrowing for the Quechee Road, as well as the new fire department pumper tanker.
Great. So in your packet, you had a memo outlining the situation with the pumper tanker. So at the last meeting, you approved the purchase of it for, where's the number? $563,699. We are, at this point in time, short $208,000 for that purchase. Again, it's to be delivered in February of 27 as the anticipated timeline.
That's the earliest possible.
Right, the earliest possible. And that's, so that 208,000 shortage is including this year's fire department transfer and FY27's fire department transfer of $68,000 each. So you see there's three options. One, we could, just real quick, we could borrow short-term from Mascoma Bank. You see the repayment, the estimated repayment and interest in the memo. We could potentially look at the Vermont Municipal Loan Program, which we get a better interest rate at, but the timeline gives us potential challenges because we wouldn't find out until the middle of December, and it would only cover a portion of it. Or we could use, money from the unencumbered fund balance. But again, we're talking about using that money for the Quechee Road. So we can't double use that money.
right.
The challenge with short-term borrowing is that we have to have a special town meeting, warned floor vote because it's a budget item. So we could schedule that for the fall. It'd be a one article, at this point, a one article conversation.
For the truck or the Quechee Road.
For the truck. We're only talking about the truck right now.
So it could throw up my gut feeling. Being the budgeting numbers guy. I think we take we've got ARPA money, right? We're kind of carving that out, right?
Yep, that's included in the unencumbered fund balance there.
Right. But, that's our money that we should be repairing Damon Hall with, which needs a lot of work, right? And we've got some other unencumbered money.
Yep.
I think we should use that to pay for the truck and have one bond loan request for Quechee Road, period. And I don't think we should be using unencumbered funds for Quechee Road unless we run into a shortfall and we need it for a contingency.
So just for the sake of conversation, if we borrow short term, so I appreciate that.
But we could deal with the truck first,
right,
and worry about Quechee Road later. Right?
The annual payment for a 5-year loan for this amount is less than what we already allocate annually to the fire department reserve. So there is no change to the budget. There is no impact to the budget to borrow this money.
But we can pay for it now, right? Not have to take a loan and not have to pay back a loan and instead accumulate that money into the fund for the next truck.
We could continue, right? We are shortchanging ourselves for a few years. If I recall the conversation at the last meeting, the next anticipated repair or purchase is 10 years down the road.
Right.
At best case scenario.
Yeah. So with
Best case scenario.
So
Best
level
case.
funding, you'd have $680,000 in 10 years.
Yeah.
And it'll be $1 million truck.
It will easily be $1 million plus truck in 10 years. And then it squeezed in there is we will likely also do a refurb for several $100,000, but probably less than $300,000 on our engine to keep that in the fleet.
Well, let's just make it easy. Pay for the truck. Don't worry about the loan.
So we have $639,000 in the unencumbered fund balance right now,
Subtracting out ARPA.
not including ARPA.
So we've got enough for a truck.
We've
We've got enough for the balance and still have money left over.
We do have enough, again, for the purpose of the conversation, we also talked about using a portion of that money for the Quechee Road.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that's a discussion.
Yeah, but you can't make one without the other.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, you
that's,
could argue that about everything, right? Because
No,
you can argue that about the fact we're going to
I-
repoint the chimney
yeah.
and fix the stairs.
Well, there's
what
a
they're
fire on the
talking
Hartland
about.
Quechee Road,
Yeah.
the truck goes to go there and the road can't, you can't use the road to get there. The chicken or the egg.
We're gonna have to do the Quechee Road. The question is, how much do we do in one shot? Or how much do we borrow to do it? So rather than take two loans, why not just take one loan for one project?
Or you take one loan to pay for both. Make it a mix.
I think it's.
To do any borrowing, we have to have a special town meeting.
And that's a given.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And if you mix it together, you might get both rejected.
Or we could ask for a $2.2 million loan.
I think
Right.
you're
You know
gonna
what?
need, I think you're gonna need 3.5 for Quechee Road. To get the first.
I do not feel that the ARPA funds are as sacred as you do. I think the ARPA funds were used for municipal purposes. We did have a committee, and at that time, they came up what was in the best interest of the community. Since then, things have really changed in this community. And so, maybe it is wise to use some of those funds, not all of those funds, to help us with some of these.
That's
things.
possible, but
You know.
I think this building is your crown jewel, and if you don't maintain it, and it needs $100,000-$200,000 worth of work.
Right, and
Yeah,
and
you're
remember,
changing the time.
remember we did use ARPA funds for this building and the rec center
Right.
for work already.
But we had a ton of additional projects, we just scratched the surface.
Right,
So,
right. But using Trace's analogy, we have those projects now,
Yeah.
and these are the two projects that we need to have a chance of addressing. I don't like the idea of the bond. I think we're already paying off the bond for the intersection, and we will be for quite some time. Using a local institution to borrow the money, I think, in my unfinancial world, I think that's the way to go on that part. I don't want to spend every penny that's in our budget just for rainy day funds. I'm worried about the things that we don't know, don't see, that we need to step up.
We did talk about at the last meeting when we authorized the purchase about increasing the annual fire department reserve transfer as well.
That's right.
On a number to be determined, but moving it up from where it's been for the past 3 or 4 years at $68,000 annually.
Right.
My vote is give them the go-ahead now, back it up with money from the unencumbered balance. We're done. He can, John can feel comfortable moving forward with this purchase.
Yeah.
And we don't have to take it to a vote. Yeah. And if you mix the votes together, or even if you have two separate, you're asking for a lot of money at one time, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be asking for a lot of money anyway.
Either way, right? But if people get upset and reject all the wax, now you're stuck. Right?
You would have the unencumbered fund balance to fall back on if the request got voted down.
Right. But the optics would not be very good on that. We're doing it anyway. We know you said no, but we're doing it anyway.
Fair.
It feels like we're kicking the can down the road a little bit here.
Well, my suggestion is don't kick the can. Prove money to it. We're done.
But then if we change our mind, we're going,
Well, you can't once we decide.
well, I disagree on that one then.
I mean, we've already agreed to the purchase.
Yeah.
So this is funding the purchase is happening. I've not signed the paperwork with E1 yet, but the wheels are already, not literally, but in motion on the truck. Mm-hmm. This is just funding the remaining component, the remaining third of the purchase.
Right, and when is that?
February.
Is it this February?
February of 27 would be the earliest possible delivery time.
Okay, and that's the payment we're talking about.
That's the payment we're talking about, correct.
Okay.
So it seems to me we should do is take the suggestions from board members and have you and Martin come up with how they all would work, what would be the impact on the taxpayer. It could be using all the unencumbered funds, and then, okay, how do we pay for the Quechee Road? What would that expense be? Or slicing and dicing, if you will, using various different funds. And to me, I see there's no urgency tonight for me to decide how I'm gonna pay for this thing. I gotta probably know by July how I'm gonna do it. But as somebody said, we have the money to buy the fire truck.
Right, so we could do that. I think to date, I have not signed the paperwork for the fire truck purchase yet because we don't have the funding in place.
Not locked in.
It's not locked in. I owe the paperwork to E1. I owe a signed agreement to them for the purchase of that. So
we already made a commitment to purchase a fire truck.
But we made a commitment without committing to the funding of the fire truck.
Well, that's in sort of
implicit.
Yeah, yes, but it's
going to actually pay for it.
It's an important detail though on how we're going to pay for it.
John doesn't want to be
write a
selling.
$208,000 check.
John doesn't want to be out front selling Girl Scout cookies.
I can't sell them on Damon Hall property.
Exactly,
Right.
3 corners.
Well, okay, but I'll tell you right now, there's no way tonight we're going to agree.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I think we could agree on the Quechee Road
Right,
tonight.
but the money's coming out regardless.
It is.
So
I totally agree.
My vote is just
I get that.
Get the
And I-
wheels in motion. Lock
And
it
if I saw some other numbers and just a quick spreadsheet, I mean, one is I would like to know what the impact is on the voters, and the other thing is what we need to do in the future to replenish the the fire department fund. I mean, it's already been stated, 60 grand ain't gonna do it anymore.
Right.
It could be 80 grand, it could be, I don't know what
It could be a lot. I think, Tom, the short answer to your question is, I don't know that we're going to have the answers to like the Quechee Road, which is the big unknown, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I don't know that we're going to have final numbers on that until mid-June, early July, at best, probably. And the impact to the taxpayers for the purchase of the fire truck, whether we use the unencumbered fund balance or we short-term borrow, is zero. Because we would use the fire department, we could use the fire department reserve annual transfer to make the payment on the short-term borrowing.
Right, which is
short
bill off for,
So,
yeah.
okay, I like option 2 the best. 2% money is cheap money.
2% money is cheap money.
And
But you gotta go to a town vote to get it. We could pay for this thing today and be done with it.
personally, I have no problem going to town vote because
Right.
I want the townspeople to know how expensive this stuff is and what we're up against.
But if they vote no,
We don't.
Do you think you're going to vote no about buying a
No.
fire truck?
I don't think so.
Think not.
But there's always a risk.
For the municipal loan program?
I don't know.
I don't know that we need to go to the voters for the municipal loan program. So we could split the difference, sir, Martin,
No, that's fine.
in applying for the municipal loan program, which is up to $150,000, and then we would still be $68,000 short. We could use the unencumbered fund
Yeah.
balance for that, right? The challenge there is we won't know the answer if our project has been selected until mid-December. If it's not been selected by mid-December, we have to we can pull it all from the unencumbered fund balance.
Pull it from the unencumbered.
And so you mentioned that there wouldn't be any increase in taxes.
Correct.
I'm going to hold you to this.
For the purposes of this purchase, that is what I'm saying.
So you think that over the next 3 or 4 years, you can make payments on the loan so that there is no increase in taxes to the general public here in the town of Hartland?
Because we would be short-term, short-changing the fire department reserve account.
The answer is no. There'll be an increase in tax.
There's going to be an increase in
won't
taxes anyways.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting perspective.
It's gonna
That's
have
an interesting way to look at
If
that.
we're not paying cash for this right now, there's gonna have to be an increase in tax later in order to fund the fire department reserve fund.
I think there's a lot of unknowns with the future purchases of
Well,
fire
in 10
trucks.
years, we're gonna be asking the same
Yeah.
conversation because we're only halfway to the conversation.
Right, or having a very different conversation about everything.
Yeah.
Right, we don't know what's going to happen, the conversation in 10 years.
And I reminded John and Scott, was it that you very clearly articulated the cost of the rollout gear was going up and going up. So it's not just the truck that's going up. It's just
The other thing is, you look at inflation, it's running around 3-4%. You're getting money at 2%. And we have money in a CD or hopefully a high yield savings account. You're getting, 3 or 4%. So, I mean, it's a good use of kind of arbitrage of money, personally. I wonder if there's any way to ask these folks, how unlikely is it that we wouldn't get the money?
So you can't tell by looking at their minutes how many applications they receive.
So they have a limited number of, is a pool?
There's a pool.
Is small?
It's a big pool of money that they can dole out. It's done by the treasurer's office. I would feel confident moving into the municipal loan program.
Yep.
We can talk to people on that program.
Okay.
So is the consensus you guys don't want to make a decision today, or do you want to go with?
I'll do that with that one, my suggestion.
We'll do half and half?
No, do the 150 to 2%. What do you?
And some out of the unencumbered.
So John and I have had this discussion many times in many different ways. The unencumbered fund is taxpayers' money already paid, taken out of their pockets. It's money left over in the budget at the end of the fiscal year. So they've already paid that money. So that money's already been taxed, it's what's left over. So it would not cost the taxpayers a dime if we use the unencumbered fund. It's already their money that they've already overpaid.
Except that you can't use it for the road.
Well, you can use both, because we have $700,000 in that, $500,000 in the ARPA. So of that money, that's taxpayers' money that they've already paid for.
And it's not being put to work.
So
exactly, and I'm not a fan of taking a loan out. If I can afford it and I don't have to pay the interest, even if it's at 2%, you're still paying money that you don't
Right. I hate to say this, but I'm with Martin on this one.
So here's the thing, Mark.
I disagree.
You're then going to have to borrow to pay for the Quechee Road.
Right, we're going to have to do that no matter what.
That's what I'm trying to lower. So you're going to borrow at almost 5%.
Correct.
You can borrow at 2%, and
Right.
then the balance. Then with the remaining fund balance, we can use towards the Quechee Road
Yes.
to reduce the amount of indebtedness.
You are
Absolutely.
mathematically correct.
I think you're onto something there, TK. I'm with
Yes.
you.
Right.
We can split this thing 50-50.
But if we can buy the fire truck and it doesn't cost the taxpayers any money, it doesn't cost them a dime, because they've already paid for that money. You take the rest of your unencumbered fund and then borrow just the $2 million. Now you don't need to borrow $2.5 million.
I would ask you to clarify something.
Sure.
The taxpayers were not taxed only on, what I'm trying to say is the ARPA fund did not come through the
Taxpayer.
county.
That's
Right.
not taxpayer.
That's not
Came to the
taxpayer.
federal government. We still, as taxpayers in this country, paid for that money.
Well, I think that's a little broad, Brian. That's a little.
Still,
We haven't paid for it yet. It's part
But
of the
Martin,
$36
at the
trillion
end of the day,
Yes.
between the fire truck and the Quechee Road,
yes,
our fund balance is going to be very, very small.
absolutely. I agree 100%.
That's my point.
But
That's
we
my
have
point.
350.
Very dangerous.
Tom, we have 350,000 in a reserve account. God forbid we need something quick.
For general fund.
We have 200. We'll have 200,000 in the capital asset reserve after we do a couple more expenses. So we're still going to be $800,000.
We have emergency.
Fund.
But hold on, I'm sorry. That's not money that's available. We're not using that money. That's money that is
No, right now,
allocated
exactly.
for, that's not up
Right,
for
but that's
discussion.
for a rainy day.
So,
But that's
hold
for
on,
the
Martin.
rainy day.
Mark,
But we have emergency funds.
we have emergency
The
funds
general
for
fund,
emergencies.
Surplus
Yes.
fund, we
That's
have
what
the
they're
culvert, we
The
have
purchase of
bridge,
the
we have-
Quechee,
Wait, time out, there's too many cross
the
companies.
Quechee Road and the fire truck are not emergencies. We can pay for this without
I agree.
dipping into those
Yeah,
accounts.
but I'm saying, to Tom's point, if we drain the unencumbered down, we have emergency funds.
If you make a motion,
Yeah.
you and
So-
I will get 3 votes.
It's either going to be, the Quechee Road is the big elephant in the room, right?
I make a motion that we don't talk about this anymore, we just pay for the friggin' truck.
I make a motion that we use option 2, which is we apply for $150,000 with 2% interest, with the balance being paid for with unencumbered funds.
I'll second that.
Can that loan be prepaid?
We will find out the application deadline is not until fall at this point. They do 2 application deadline, two per year. We just passed the spring, so we have time to figure out the answer.
I'll amend my motion. If we are unsuccessful in getting the $150,000 loan, we'll use unencumbered funds to pay for the fire.
I'll second that.
All right, Phil, vote.
Any discussion?
No.
Do it, Bill.
No, it's
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 okay.
It
Are
passes.
you sure you want to go to your work meeting now, John?
Thank you very much.
So John, just before you leave, and I was talking earlier or last week with a number of town managers, and there is real concern out there about trucks being $1 million and one community owning it. And I think there's going to be a lot of discussion about sharing of equipment because it's getting so expensive. So I just want to throw that out. I don't know if the fire departments themselves through mutual aid are having that discussion.
Yeah, so again, regionalization is a topic where, if Windsor has a fire truck, does West Windsor also, a ladder truck, does West Windsor also need a ladder truck, for instance? I can't really speak to that. We have made decisions in Hartland that we are surrounded by paid departments, and we are very fortunate about that. All those paid departments have utility rescue vehicles to get into the woods. We don't need to buy those. We're just trying to maintain our fleet of, pumper tanker capability at each fire station. And I think this does that and gives us more.
I'm not questioning this one. I'm just thinking
10
in the
years in the
future.
future, I think we're going to be having a very different conversation.
Yeah,
I think
can I add
the volunteer
also-
fire service, either the federal government's going to have to kick in something, or the real cost of apparatus has to come down.
Right.
It's
Right. John, the same conversation came up last Thursday night at a meeting of select board individuals in our area. So it's a regionalization with a capital R. No details, but everyone's feeling they're hurting for a number of services, including highway services as well. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, John. I'll sign that paperwork and get it to Garth.
Appreciate all that, Brett.
So are we're not sweeping the Quechee Road under the rug here, are we?
Nope.
Okay.
No, it's two topics. I don't know. Do we want to? No.
I was wanting to give Bryan.
Do we want to go back to?
Can we go back to it
the
and
town
have
plan now?
Brian,
And Dan?
he's out on a lot of night meetings. We can let him get home at a reasonable hour.
Just want to make sure people are comfortable.
All right.
We're back to town plan. Okay. Okay, John and Brian, you guys, and Dan.
So at the last meeting, after the last meeting, we went through the land use chapter. There were a number of edits or suggested edits. I met with Bryan. We worked through those edits, and then in your packet and included in your packet was the town plan with all of those edits incorporated that we had been discussing over the previous few meetings, along with in red or blue in the printed versions, suggested edits from the Two Rivers Regional Planning Commission. There's some policy, a few goals and policies recommendations, along with some future utilities facilities language that was added by them.
Okay, my printed copy has blue. It has nothing in the margins.
Right, no, the text is in blue. The changes are in blue.
Okay.
There's only one comment on the margins I added just for context.
Okay.
That's about the implementation table. I did make some edits there because there were some places where it wasn't the actions that were going to be taken, but it was goals and policies mixed in. So I just wanted to give you context of why I recommend.
I don't think they was came through on their copies.
It didn't go through.
I mean, I got it.
And the implementation, everything.
Same here. You get this? You're not getting that.
No.
Yeah,
No,
they're
not
not
at
getting
all.
that. That's what I'm saying.
Which one?
Right here, this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's
They don't
would be
get
the full text.
No, I've been looking.
Oh, because there's only one and it's at the very
Any
back.
line.
Yeah, the only comment would be at the very back. The appendix.
Oh, wait a minute, I just looked at the electronic copy and he's got comments all over the place. I don't have any of those.
Comments.
So I think that the comments that are in blue, Phil, in your copy are reflective of the comments that are in the margins.
Right.
So on page,
So when you do review in Word, it will show who the author is and what the change was. But
Yeah, the edits are in some parts of the text of this, and I can go through those sections. I've marked them if you want. The only comment on the margin would be on page 117. There's only one.
So following the review, there's two town plan issues tonight.
there's nothing here.
The review, so everybody had the town plan that got sent to them digitally as well. So there's two things. The select board could choose to accept the town plan, and then we can move forward, and then we can schedule the first of the two required public hearings. That's two separate actions that would need to be taken. Right, Brian, accept the appropriate
To
term.
finalize a draft.
Right,
the public hearing draft.
right. And then setting a date for that first public hearing.
Okay, so could we tonight go over the additions that Two Rivers put in?
Yes,
And then-
that would be.
That was
Because the rest are theoretically edits that we talked about.
Yes.
As I've been meeting with John and going through reviewing the edits you've made already and adding those in
Okay.
there.
And Dan, I want you to be involved with this to make sure that
Yeah, I'd like.
We're carrying forward
maybe
what the-
Brian could go first, just, I'm just looking at them for the first time.
okay,
Yep.
Yes.
So really the first area we were going to see edits to the document are in the land use policies. These were recommended by Kevin Geiger from my office.
what page are we on?
So the first ones are going to start on page 19 is the first edit. To the policies from the various future land use areas. These were suggested by Kevin Geiger from my office. He's working with the Planning Commission on draft bylaws, zoning bylaws. These are to make it a little easier, to be less prescriptive in the town plan, to give the opportunity to be more prescriptive in the bylaws. So mostly we've not added any policies in this section, but to either strike some language or tweak some language.
What happens if the bylaws don't get adopted by the town?
The bylaws, you still won't have bylaws in that case, but what does happen right now with these policies, important thing to remember with town plans, they're only part of a quasi-judicial proceeding in 3 instances. The big one being an Act 250 case, but otherwise they have no effect on local development if it's not an Act 250 case. And the other 2 cases are cell towers and large energy generation facilities, which go through state managed processes, and there's hearings about those. So this wouldn't have none of this has any effect.
But
in
if
town
the-
plan.
These are strong,
bylaws-
this language is stronger. There's a lot of shalls now.
I'm seeing shells stricken, not added.
Generally, Kevin is the opinion to strike shalls unless there's a great
Oh,
reason
please, yeah.
for it.
This is what I was talking about with the philosophy that the planning commission had, is that what Jim was just saying is that if for whatever reason, if we don't get bylaws, if we don't have the shalls, there's just no enforceability through Act 250.
Right.
And so that's what, that's the risk that you run. I understand that you wouldn't want to do anything in here that would prevented you from doing anything with the bylaws, but at least we thought we were thinking ahead, and unless Kevin thinks there's something particularly problematic, but that's, that's where we are. We could be,
I don't think we entered into an agreement to do a unified bylaw with the anticipation that it was not going to pass.
Right. The town has always rejected it. So
Historically,
let's just all I'm saying is, do you have smoke detectors in your house?
yes.
Have you ever had a fire?
No. However,
So let's not, water down the town plan if we don't know we're going to have bylaws.
but again, I don't think we're watering it down. We are making it, again, as Brian pointed out, the instances in which the town plan becomes a regulatory tool are few and far between.
But they happen.
We happen to have two instances in recent memory in town where it has been, it has come up, but prior to that, I think we could look back historically and not find many for many years.
Yeah, I think Dan would disagree, because I'm sure we lost one before. That I can think of 3 offhand.
They tried a bridge in the town plan as being a policy and a regulatory document, and that's not the function of a town plan. Town plan is a policy document. That's clear.
But
its clarity is where Hartland has struggled.
Yeah, I'm with you. But when you get into an Act 250 proceeding, it's got to be.
Just because you have a shall in it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to agree with you.
Well, yeah, true.
No, nothing, there's no, just because it shall, the document itself doesn't have any enforceability. It just is whether the Act 250 will look at it under criterion 10.
When's your next meeting with the Planning Commission?
Wednesday.
When I saw the number of changes in here, that we're really, to me, are policy changes. I won't vote on this.
Yeah, we had this discussion in the Planning Commission, and, we batted it back and forth, but, we felt pretty strongly that the risk that there wouldn't be land use ordinances for whatever reason would leave the town with, no hope of enforceability for Act 250. So where it's not guaranteed if you have it in there, but it's certainly better grounds. And that was the problem before. We just didn't have the language, but the courts do defer to the town plan.
So statute does not require us to send it back to the planning commission. And so
we've been down this road before.
I'm not asking you to do
no, I'm talking to Jim. We are going to, if we can get through this, have 2 public hearings. Members of the planning commission can come to the public hearing and they can voice their comments.
Right. So I lived through this the last time we reviewed a town plan, and it was a cluster. And I'll try not to.
It was a political thing that went on.
I think it's good business. Right, if we're going to make extensive changes, to get an opinion from the Planning Commission.
We have already signed a contract extension with Two Rivers for the work on the unified bylaw. Sending it back to the Planning Commission would take up a minimum of 1 meeting, yes. Dan. A minimum of 1 meeting, correct?
Yeah, I don't see a point to doing that.
And I don't think that there's the time in their schedule to both revisit the town plan and continue work meaningfully on the bylaw, because that has a December timeline, a December deadline.
I think that's too negative.
So
we need more Pollyanna-ish.
Dan is here, we can reach out through Dan to the Planning Commission and to say to the Planning Commission, Two Rivers has made additional changes, please review it and come back with comment, written, I don't care, whichever way, with any potential changes that you would like to see. We're not prohibiting them from.
Once you publish this, it's going to be harder to change.
Why? That's the reason for public hearings.
So we can do a motion, we can do a vote. I'm telling you right now, I'm voting against this. I would like the Planning Commission to review it.
We don't have to have
and provide an opinion on some of this stuff, because I think it's significant. It's undoing a lot of their work.
I don't think so.
I just, Jim, I disagree, but I did not reread the whole plan.
Well, you only have to read the highlights, the colors.
It's really the land use section and some of the stuff in the implementation section, which is just, I read it. And the other thing is, you had a person who has over 30 years of experience as a land use planner, and he's making these suggestions.
They should have been made when Two Rivers was working with the Planning Commission.
Well, no.
At the time, those times don't work though. At the time that they were going through the town plan, we did not have a contract with Two Rivers to do a unified bylaw. So we would not have made these changes at the time had we been under contract to do the unified bylaw.
The bylaw doesn't, You think the bylaw creates the need for these changes?
Some of the changes, as Brian just pointed out.
But if you have very prescriptive land use policies in your town plan, those will have to be enacted into your bylaws. So, for instance, Village Center Policy 8, future development shall not occur within floodplains. You would have to then amend in the future your bylaws to make it a no build within your floodplains.
Right.
Can we allow Brian to at least just go through all the changes first before we decide what we're gonna do next?
Yep.
I mean, I want him to earn his supper.
I don't live that far.
Keep me from mine.
It's only going to be a 15-minute drive home. Yeah, so in a nutshell, the land use policy is probably the one we want to look at the most here. There are some edits to the natural areas, fragile areas, and wildlife policies. Those I think are less consequential.
Brian, if I may, you should go page by page that you made a change. I'm sorry.
Can we skip like facilities and?
Yeah, some of those other things, but I think you should, on the land use section, starting on
Page 20.
20, and just go through them, please.
Every policy, every revision.
Yep. Because I don't think everyone has read them anyways, and so just to allay some people's fears as far as what the changes were.
Yeah, so under the Village Center policies, beginning on page 19, striking language at the end of policy 6 and shall be prohibited. And number 8, striking shall not occur, and instead having the sentence read future development within floodplains shall be carefully reviewed. Under rural business policy, rural business area policy 2, this is on page 20, adding a little qualifier where available to policy 2 at the end of the sentence there, and then the policy 4 at the end of the last sentence, striking and shall be prohibited. The idea here is to allow government flexibility to talk about this in the bylaws. Then going down to the next page, 21. Rural residential area policies. Number 6, industrial development, amended to say must be carefully regulated to minimize impacts to roads and neighboring properties.
Brian, there was a request. Can you just move your chair up closer to the speaker so folks online can hear you? Thanks.
We have many on that? So many on that?
No.
Try to sit so people can still see me. Then similarly, number 8, there's some amendments in there, striking small retail stores and businesses, large retail stores, and striking and hotels, motels are inappropriate for this area. So there's less in there that's cut.
So you want a Holiday Inn and rural?
So, I mean, it's not that it's necessarily wanted there. It's, again, allowing more flexibility in the bylaws for the chance to discuss what uses will be allowed there. Next page, 22, rural area policies, striking the second sentence on policy 2. This is because it's very prescriptive to have a number in your town plan. The bylaws is where you would want to.
A lot of discussion about that last meeting.
Yeah, we talked about it when Brian and I met you.
Yep. And number 8 in that same section, changing a shall to a should, and then striking the second part of that, no other commercial or industrial development shall be permitted in this area. And that's the last land use policy, the proposed edit.
Should we just pause there? Again, I'm optimistic, and I feel we're working in a positive environment to get the bylaws done. So given the comments that were just made by Brian, that these little lines or phrases would be best addressed in bylaws, are we still going to debate that, or are we in agreement that that's
the bylaws are not passed? I'd be happy to take out a loan and put a McDonald's and Holiday Inn next to Ashgabat.
Well, unfortunately, the town doesn't own that, so that's a bad example. Yeah,
So development buffer around
yeah.
municipal.
Okay, are we ready to move on?
I just want to say again, it can be when we have the public hearing that, I think Jim, you brought up, you didn't like the fact that hotels were struck. That could, after the public hearing,
Well, that's an
be placed
example.
back in, I mean.
Just about anything where there's a shall or a strike through, I feel we're making material changes, and I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you.
These are, all material changes.
So I think it's unfair to make material changes without input from the planning commission.
But again,
Don't try to convince me otherwise.
the planning commission can come to the public hearing. That's the purpose of
But
having
once you
two
get
public
this
hearings.
stuff in a document, you make these changes.
If we get stuck, we're going to get stuck in a back and forth where we're never going to get the town plan adopted.
It'll get adopted. So you can adopt it without any of these changes.
Well, then we wasted 12 months of everybody's time.
I think we just, we don't have to have consensus on this. If a member of the board doesn't want it to move forward, that's their right. So,
Yeah.
This is,
And
and it could be that the majority of the board agrees with Jim, and that's.
Well, that'd be
okay.
unusual.
Okay, let's keep going, Brian.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the time. We got to keep moving here.
Yep, the next area where there's edits is page 30 to the natural areas, fragile areas, and wildlife habitat policies. So I think, John, you and I discussed these ones a lot more. So the first edit would be to strike policy 1. Land use planning goals should be sensitive to the needs of Hartland's wildlife. And then simplify the way these other ones read without really changing the intent. So policy, what's now policy? What is in there right now is policy 2, 3, and 4 have small textual edits just for clarity.
Okay.
So past that, the next real area where this is new text entirely is a section called Future Needs of Hartland's Transportation Network and Facilities. This is for regional plan compliance. We want to see you showing like some effort put into capital planning. This is the state's pushing that. So this is just to added here based on previous work I've done with the town on identifying capital projects and just a summation of those major items here.
Okay, where are you now?
Page 64.
Page 64. I did not add any policies related to transportation. This is all just text. It's a lot, so I'm not going to try and read it.
And who wrote this?
I did.
Okay.
The next area after
I think it's the implementation section.
There's the same future needs in the utilities and facilities chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then implementation is the next.
Yeah. The next area is down on page 88. I did add some context about Hartland's Rescue Squad and ambulance service based on town report. Again, checking a box that you've talked about this in utilities and facilities chapter. Hospitals and healthcare facilities, again, there's some content in there about that. I didn't add any policies related to either of these things. And then as John said, the next section I added is future needs of Hartland's utilities and facilities to, again, sort of provide some context and some thinking about capital budgeting within your town plan. So that's on page 99 to 98. And again, didn't add any policies related to utilities and facilities. And then these are not very substantial edits because there's not really policies that are changed here. But the next area that's been changed or proposed to be changed is the economic statistics section. Let me find where that is.
That's page 104.
Yep. This wasn't updated, I think from the last time the town plan was updated. So John asked me to go find some new census data and relay that information in here, and then also added a new pie chart showing the industries that employ Hartland residents. So I think in the edited copy that's on page 106.
Oh, excuse me.
It's also now in color. And then there's only a minor edit to one of the policies, Economic Development Policy 1. It goes from a shall to a should.
Okay.
And then the next section with add textual edits was about forest walks and habitat connectors. So again, I talked to John about this, and he had some edits to propose in the third and fifth paragraph of this section, and struck that about the large scale maps, because there are actually maps in here of the forest blocks within the town plan. It's not needed. And then there are some policy changes proposed to the forest blocks and habitat connectors. So on page 109, as well as some actions to implement those policies that are also suggested edit of being struck.
The implementation section was also something that I had trouble with.
Yep. And then down the last thing is the implementation section. I don't know, maybe I did this just starting out when I was making proposed edits, working with the Planning Commission. For chapter 1 of the implementation table, the land use section, goals and policies were actually copied in here instead of the actions from that section. So I moved to strike those and add the actual actions. This is an implementation table. Actions should be in here, not policies and goals. And just added the select board and planning commission as the responsible party for both of them and a realistic timeline. Then lastly, I also think I missed when I was creating this, the natural areas, fragile areas, and wildlife habitat actions weren't added in here. Very sorry. So again, I added those in here and put what I think are pretty reasonable responsible parties and timelines next to those. So that's in summation the edits to the timeline text.
I feel very strongly as members of the select board that we have received guidance from the Planning Commission. We've signed a contract with Two Rivers to create bylaws. The history of bylaws in the town has not been good. I think that's behind us. But as members of the select board, I think it's each of our, as individuals, we need to promote bylaws. We need to get out there and talk to our neighbors and explain what's happening, encourage people to come to the Planning Commission meetings, and get it passed. I mean, we're not a sleepy little town any longer. We have a lot of pressures coming from. Well, just look at the Quechee Road that we, so I would urge us to consider moving along to the next step of having the first of the two public meetings. That's my opinion. So I'm willing to listen to my colleagues here.
I just have one question. So is there anything specifically that you, while we have, everyone here, is there a specific space that's bothering you the most?
Yes.
This,
The land use chapter.
Okay, the whole chapter or just
The changes.
the changes? Let's just look at it really quickly. Do we have time to do that? Just for
We've
2
done that.
minutes?
We just did it.
We just did it.
Can we go back there for just a second?
Oh, what's the purpose of it? We
Well,
just went
I
back
think-
through it.
Just to that.
Jim may be, Jim, why don't you articulate what your concerns are with,
I am
Is that,
concerned that we
Trace,
have,
is that?
yeah, we
Yeah,
chartered,
that's fine. That's
yeah,
fine.
we chartered a planning commission. They worked on this for a year and a half, all right? They went, out of their way to try to tighten up the plan, have shells where they thought they were appropriate. And we are coming in and rewriting collectively the most important chapter in this plan. And we're doing it without giving them a chance to review the suggested edits and provide some input to us before we do it. It's like, don't have a committee unless you're gonna honor a committee, right?
Well, I think I've heard a number of options that
They're meeting on
the planning commission could come back at the first public meeting, and before that, they could give us suggested changes, and we can incorporate those.
Or they could look at this on Wednesday.
They've already warned and posted their agenda for their meeting on Wednesday, and this is not currently on their agenda.
And Dan,
But their first agenda item is to update the schedule, right?
I'd like to call this. So I'd like to make a motion that we schedule a public hearing on the town plan. And when, June?
I believe June 1st is the first Monday
For
in June.
June 1st.
Because that's
And
It is.
for the record, we ask the planning commission to please come to the public hearing with suggestions regarding the changes that have been made. And I'm going to correct you here, and the select board will consider those changes.
Sorry.
We may not necessarily agree with those changes.
Do we need 30 or 15 days?
15 days.
15 days.
But it's a 15-day interval, so
Yeah, so it's, we
15
still have
days
time.
from the date of publication.
Yeah, we have time. I just want to make sure.
you have
Work with them.
what Tom just said, or Cheyenne?
Shannon, we'll do, I just wanted to, my question was only on it's only a 15-day public notice, not a
Yeah,
30.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I to simplify it, I just wanted to state for the record that we held our first public hearing on June 1st to consider comments on the town plan.
Okay, I'll second that. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Against.
I think,
It passes for,
Phil, I think for the record, non-unanimous votes, you have to take a voice vote.
okay.
Or
If you're in
roll call.
favor, say aye. Tom?
Yes.
Phil? Yes. Clyde?
Yes.
Trace?
Yes.
Jim?
No.
The other thing, when we start to go into public hearing, because there's so much discussion about it, you are going to really confuse the issue if you start talking about possible bylaws in this town plan. This town plan has nothing to do with the bylaws that are being said. This is a town plan which the bylaws need to have compatibility with, and so that is taken into consideration. But if we start talking about at a public hearing, the merits of having a bylaws or whether it passes or fails, it is going to totally confuse the public.
I agree.
So if you can, if we had never, last year, if we didn't ask Two Rivers to help us to create bylaws, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. We'd all we'd be talking about is the town plan. So it will get really, 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 really confusing.
I agree.
okay. Dan, please carry to the planning commission that we want to make sure that the planning commission is comfortable, especially with the land use chapter, with the changes.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's hard for me because everybody is right in their way, but it's really a nuanced discussion in my view. And I think that I don't want to speak for the whole commission, but I'd be pretty confident that the objection to the changes wouldn't be to any sort of policies that are articulated within there, but it's to removing the enforceability of this for Act 250 purposes. Mm-hmm. And I guess what I hear, it's great that if the select board is committed to doing bylaws, which we certainly agree, that's the way to do it. That's okay. But our concern was that if that fails for whatever reason, and history is not been more on the pessimist side than the optimist side here, would be that this town plan would leave the town with nothing in Act 250 under criterion 10, because you remove the language of the proscriptive aspects and my suggestion would be, or would have been, probably. I don't want to keep this going longer than it has to, but would have been to sit down with Kevin. I wish these suggestions had come to us before we sent it over to you, and we could have hashed this out. So anything that was anticipated to be in conflict with a potential bylaw, we could have softened a little bit, and that was one way to do it. But to just take the enforceability of this and pretty much wipe it out, it's a pretty big change.
Yeah.
So, we can all be confident about bylaws, but just understand that you've pretty much given up any position, using Act 250 to enforce any of this.
There's also nothing to preclude us from amending the town plan at a future date either.
Yes, and that I would agree with that, but I would amend it if it was conflicting with the bylaw, that you amend it then, but rather than, because, in a hearing, we're presenting a case in a public Act 250 hearing, and the town went back, they took it out, and they put it back in, who knows what a judge is going to do with that. So.
Yeah. I think you put your finger on why I said as select board members, and I'm sure the planning commission would as well, is that's the real importance. You articulated the real importance of what the bylaws are, and that.
Yeah, no question about that. The town should have bylaws, and I think we should put our energy into that. But just understand, I don't think it was. Again, I wish we could have had this discussion with Two Rivers before. We did a little bit, we touched on it, but I felt that Two Rivers was entering this, and maybe you are too, and that's the philosophical thing, is an overconfidence about the possibility of bylaws. Mm-hmm. And I just our experience, we've just been, several members of the planning commission predate all of you folks. And we've just been through this, and bylaws are good luck.
So Dan, maybe you can call Kevin and talk to him and just ask him if you want.
Well, are you open to that? Because it's pointless to talk to him if you want to wrap it up tonight. I don't know what we can do.
But we're not wrapping it up.
We're wrapping up and scheduling.
But we can again. We're going to have two opportunities to change it.
If you want to do it that way, okay. I think it's awkward, but
I think
that's
so.
The purpose.
Yeah.
We'll break it so we can fix it later.
I don't think it's perfect.
So we'll break it so we can fix it later.
You need to know if have a hearing draft finalized at least 16 days before that hearing.
Right. So is this are we?
If you're accepting these edits now, then we should know that to be clear, or if you're going to go back and forth for a little time longer.
We adopted a public hearing draft tonight. Is okay, but it could be subject, obviously, to change.
Okay, then I will accept the edits
during the public hearing process. That's the reason for having it.
No, I just wasn't clear when you guys were voting if you were voting to do that too,
Okay.
or just setting a
So
date.
I agree with Tom that it's very confusing, if you introduce this aspect to it at the public hearings, for bylaws, this is hard to understand the way the laws interact. And so, but I don't see how it can be avoided.
Yeah. So there was just a question online about when this will be available. Brian, you will accept these changes,
Yep.
and I will post this as the public hearing draft on the website tomorrow.
But
Yep.
what
And
was the motion?
no.
Is the motion to schedule a hearing or to approve the draft?
To
So it's
schedule a hearing
on this
on this draft.
draft. So there should, to make it clearer, there could be another motion to accept this as the public hearing draft of the 2025 town
The
plan.
draft that we're going forward with.
The public hearing draft, and I think you're being too quick, is going to be a clean copy
Yes.
without all the edits.
Yes.
That's what I was
And,
sure of.
and that you are going to do the things that we talked about that you didn't include that were, we'll call it minor or non-substantial edits. So the question is whether or not, given your schedule and so on, do you have time to sort of basically go through it once more and then give it to John? I don't think, John, it's going to be ready tomorrow, is it?
If it's accepting the red line text in here, I can have that done in 5 seconds.
But what about all the stuff that John gave you
We've met,
for other you've already met
we've
on
met
all
on
that?
those. Those
No,
are already.
we've
All
accepted
those are
that,
already
yeah,
in there. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, then it's ready to go.
Yeah. And I do have a hearing draft, hearing notice draft for John as well.
And so we go to the public hearing, and someone makes a valid point for an adjustment, and how does that get voted on?
That comes back to us.
Comes back to
Make a
us.
decision.
Not at the hearing.
Not
Not the hearing.
You don't vote at a hearing. It's
You
just
don't.
to take
Just the-
feedback.
So we're going to take all the comments.
Yep.
And then at a future select board meeting, we can discuss it, make changes if that's what we decide to do, so that at the second public hearing, we show people we've made.
And that's when it's going to
the
get
changes.
finalized
And
there.
that, no,
No.
then after the second public hearing, we have another meeting. So this is what I'm saying, there's going to be lots of bites to the
This is
apple.
government. What do you
Does
think?
this ever stop?
July.
Okay.
But no, in all seriousness, one of the things that's been going on in this day, if you read about it, is sort of this whole rural divide, and people are feeling that they're not listened to. But then at the same time, people think we're being bureaucratic. I'm a land use planner. We give people the opportunity, but you got to warn things, and you have to be quite demonstrative, because just to show we're not doing this late at night and nobody's around. So.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on. Okay.
Guys.
Thank you, Brian. Dan, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
So will that hearing come before our meeting or after?
Yes. So we will. We can talk about this now. Do we want to schedule the public hearing at 5 and the meeting at 6, or do we want to keep the meeting time at 5:30 and just have a short agenda and have the meeting start at 6:30?
Should be 2 different days.
We could do it on 2 different days.
I have a feeling people are going to turn out.
I think so too. That's why I don't want to short it.
I really want to do, I don't want to do both in one night. Collectively.
Okay.
It's up to you guys, if you're glutton
I
for
got to agree with
punishment.
you on something.
Yeah.
Fine.
Right.
Oh, I was hoping you would wait until the agenda item. So we have a fixed number of days.
It has to be noticed for 15 days. So June 1st gives us plenty of time. That's the first Monday in June, because the next meeting in May is already spoken for. The full meeting.
Right.
So we would have to have a special warning if we wanted to have a select board meeting on the 8th.
Yeah, but that's easy enough to do.
Okay.
That would be fine.
So you want to have the town plan hearing on the 1st at 5:30.
I just think it's unrealistic. Unless nobody shows up, it's unrealistic.
And then
Both in one night.
hold on, Martin. And then have the first regularly scheduled select board meeting on the 8th.
That'd be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that as well.
Okay.
And, I assume,
I may be here, I may not be here for a second. You're back in town. I'm gonna be in May.
On the 8th?
Yeah.
I mean, you could
But I'm
do-
coming back on the 8th, so I'll
Okay.
just get back here in time.
Okay.
yeah.
what are the dates?
We can talk about where, but I'm
One,
assuming
8,
upstairs.
And, sorry.
Yeah, it's
15th.
June 1st, 5:30 p.m. public hearing. June 8th, 5:30 p.m. select board meeting.
And June 15th, select board meeting.
You're getting one ahead of me, but okay, we can do that too.
What?
He needs all three.
Do we want to have meetings back in back-to-back weeks? June 15th would be the second regularly scheduled select board meeting in June.
We can decide on the 8th if we need another meeting.
Agreed.
Following week.
Agreed. Yeah.
So,
You just block off your Mondays, Trace.
there's no Monday night football.
Give you an opportunity to break into that new truck.
put some miles on it. So yeah, so June 1st and June 8th, and then to be determined on June 15th.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I can just see someone saying, get a wife.
Oh, God.
June 1st, would 6 o'clock make more sense than 5:30? People are just getting out of work 5 o'clock.
Probably.
They gotta run kids home, they gotta
Agreed.
do something.
Yeah, I think he's right.
6 o'clock.
So twice in one night, I'm gonna agree with Martin.
And the first time in how many years?
That's the quota for the entire decade.
But what, I already had in there for 6 o'clock, so.
So 6 p.m. on Monday, June 1st. We will hold it upstairs. We'll have an online option. Race will have to talk about that and do logistics. Okay.
This is gonna be a great email.
Do we think we're gonna have that? The acoustics up there.
They are.
Awful.
So I heard somebody mention it. We can have it down here. I think reasonably down here we can get 40.
Yeah, we're gonna get more than that, you think?
You guys figure that out. With,
It'll be standing room only, but yes.
You think that many people will come?
Remember the meeting back in 2011 or 2012? There had to be
I wasn't born
65 people here that night?
for the town
For the
plan.
zoning, no, when they were trying
No,
to.
we're not talking about zoning.
I
We're talking about
understand
town
that.
plan.
I understand
Gotta
that.
stop saying that.
This is town plan, Mark.
Town plan.
Bylaws lead into other stuff.
Okay. So we'll have it.
Alright.
We'll have it down here, and then it removes the acoustics and logistics issues of having it upstairs.
Okay. Are we going back to the Quechee Road for municipal?
We'll go
borrowing?
real quick back to the Quechee Road on municipal borrowing. In your packet, you also had 2 documents, an updated memo similar to what you had a few months ago, and then a debt service schedule from the bond bank. So we were looking at options, and again, this is using a $2 million bond and 800 plus in municipal funding. So that's paving dollars, class 2 roadway grants, use of the unencumbered fund balance. And so what you see is so the debt service schedule from the bond bank, you're looking at $178,000 annually as a payment. And that's the highest it'll be, and then it'll drop, $5,000 to $10,000, per year after that. But again, that's a 20-year payment.
For how much?
That was $2 million. Again,
So 2 million is 178,000 a year.
$178,000 a year. And then
Over 20 years.
over 20 years, which we're obligated to make for 20 years, regardless of anticipated surpluses or things like that.
2 million is not really enough.
Right. Again, it's a conversation piece, and again, I think we can come up with easily 800 to 1.3 in town funding, in addition to the 2 million. The other option, we did reach out to a private lender. They gave us a 10-year loan repayment on a $2 million loan, and that annual payment is $255,000. And just for the purposes of conversation, that amounts to a $270 increase on a $300,000 house. So we're talking $13 a month, basically, on a $300,000 house.
Can you repeat that last statement that you just made?
That's
The very last.
On a $300,000 house, it'd be about a $13 a month increase in property taxes.
For a 10-year, $2 million loan.
And that's just
$13.
That's just the loan.
A month.
An additional $13 a month.
A month.
But Trace, that's not on the bond, that's on the loan.
That's on the loan.
Right.
And that does not include any budget increases, that does not include school taxes, school tax increases, that is on this year's tax rate.
But at $2 million, you're not fixing all the really bad sections. So there's miles of bad.
You were going to use another close to $1 million of money that we have.
Right.
But that's 13. So you're saying that it's $13 a month. So you're saying that our taxes for someone that has a $300,000 house is roughly it's going to go up $200. $271.80. $271.80.
Just for the road.
Just for the Hartland Quechee Road.
Just for 1/3 of it.
For 20 years.
10 years.
10
years. The bond is 20 years. The loan is 10 years. Like we were just looking at options to move the conversation forward. Jim, I think you might be right that $2 million is low. Which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. Hopefully, we need to get an updated cost table and recommendations from Pathways in terms of what they recommend. We looked at the red sections on the original plan from 18 months ago. We're only 1.6 million. So whether we're talking red and green or red and yellow, red and orange, we don't know that yet. But
John, could you go on to option 2? I'm not sure. As we talked about bonds and the loan, the 20-year loan, how do they relate to F on option 2?
So again, that's the that 10-year, that short-term loan would be a 10-year loan that we would get from a private lender.
Yep.
So again, we're talking, that's $3.1 million. If we use our paving money for the next 3 years, we apply for and receive a Class 2 paving grant, which would be in line with the schedule, and we get a $2 million loan.
You only have $3.5 million at that point.
Right. Again, so we still may be short.
That's 3 years.
That's 3 years of paving.
You still haven't addressed a bunch of bad sections on that road after 3 years.
We will have addressed a significant portion of the road, which is significantly more than we've done to date.
It's better than zero.
Right.
I don't know. So I drove that road twice deliberately when I didn't need to recently. And there's like a mile that doesn't need serious work.
That's about 3/4 of a mile.
It's frightening. I mean, you could start here and go for a couple of miles of phase 1. It would vary. It would be 2s and 3s and 4s that you were covering, or whatever the colors are.
Yeah.
And then you get a section that looks like it was done, I don't know, within the last 10 years. It's actually pretty good service.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then you go right back to bad, right?
Yeah, the section near Gilson Road was recently done.
I think like the first year, you need to do this first section, not the one that was recently done, the next section. It's like 3.5 miles. You'd still have a fairly bad section going into Quechee.
Yeah, and I think that these are the options that we are anticipating getting back from Pathways, the recommendation. Because I don't know, Jim, your point is
I'm
valid,
just
right? Do we
wondering.
start here and do we work our way up the road? Because in essence, aside from that one section, the whole road needs to be addressed.
Honestly, I think you work your way up the road, you skip that section,
Right.
you go on to the next one, and then maybe the following year, you come back and do that, and then finish it into completion.
So I think
Traveling that multiple times a day, I just politely disagree with you that there's some sections that I've watched cars in bad weather start to hydroplane.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I'm with you. I'm saying the only section you skip in the first pass is the one that was recently done.
is the one that was recently done. Yeah.
So, John, are you looking tonight for us to give you a high level? We'd like option 1 or 2?
No, again, this is just to keep the conversation going, so you have an estimation of what we're talking about. So now you know the bond payment is a dedicated bond payment for 20 years. It's going to work its way down from the first payment. On $2 million, that's $178,000. We could, I think the benefit here is that short-term borrowing, 10-year borrowing, is not off the table at this point, because I think we can.
You need too much money.
To be determined, but it's at this point, depending on what Pathways comes back with, I think it could still be a discussion point.
And I'm fine with going to Pathways. I just feel like we're throwing more money at it.
Yeah. The problem with the bond, my concern with the bond is that for Three Corners, for example, we took out a $1 million.
$1,062,000.
We took $1 million bond out. We have 17 more years to pay on that annually. We have right now the unencumbered fund balance to cover that, but we're obligated to make that payment for the next 17 years. We cannot take that out of the budget.
It sticks.
Right.
Right, and I think as a town, we're been fairly unique in that we're not bonding as much as other towns are. That may be naive of us, but
So just for homework, so you're recommending 3, just for argument purposes.
Yep.
And I think given our discussion earlier, it seems as though we are willing to use all our surplus funds generically. Could, here you're saying portion, well, why don't we try to use up all the surplus funds or something, and then see how much we need to pour towards them all.
Okay, so I think by surplus, you're talking the unencumbered fund balance, not including ARPA.
As I'm on the record, I don't think ARPA is sacred. So whatever, we always have emergencies and things like this, so we should have something, right, outstanding.
Which we do.
Right, so then I would say use up is.
But using up all the money that we should be using to repair this building.
No, I think we should repair the portions of the building. What I would say, and you just said it, is no one's gonna get killed going up the steps. Somebody could.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay, so we say we fix the steps or whatever it is. But my point is, let's try to use as much money through the surplus funds as possible, and then look at what the tax rate is going to be, and then decide how much money we're gonna. I don't want to do a bond.
But let's do Barney math for a minute. 2 years ago, this was priced at $6 million, right?
Right.
If you had a $3 million bond and another $1 million in annual contributions to the highway fund, that's $4 million, right? You're only 2/3 of the way there. Right now, some of your unencumbered balance gets you to 4.5.
Right.
There's still a huge gap.
People are really hurting. People are hurting with taxes.
What I'm saying is you got to fix the road. You have a liability. You have a safety issue.
Well, I think we have 2 things going on here that don't help us. One is the road is in very poor shape, possibly unsafe in spots, and second, the reality of taxes. It's real for me, and I think Trace also pointed out something the last time we had this discussion. If we do N miles and then have to come back to do the N plus, that's may not sit well.
You're asking for a big bond, too big bond. That's the point.
Right, is that just, the road is safe to travel on.
It's an
We have not been notified that the road is unsafe
John,
for travel.
don't go there.
I think it is important for the public record to note that the road is safe to travel on.
A reasonable person would drive that road in notes and dire need of repair.
It is in need of repair,
Yeah.
yes. Absolutely.
I also travel very often from White River Junction toward Quechee and then pick up the Quechee Hartland Road. There's a stretch of state highway just before whatever Quechee Village is called that I also see cars almost hit the guardrail, because, so we're not, as a town, we're struggling, but Senator White said it with great articulation at the town meeting, the state is way behind on maintaining their roads as well.
Yeah.
So I think we should move on. I think there's still a bombshell coming with the roads that we have to deal with. And if that's the case, then I think
whatever we do, we have to decide?
Yes.
And go to a special meeting.
Yes,
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
This year.
Soon, this year.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I think we're talking about a special meeting being a kind of, a November meeting that would be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're correct. And we'll,
Otherwise, we can't go with the bid.
yeah, okay.
Martin?
Can I do one last thing? Sorry. But when you do that special meeting, you explain to the taxpayers, this is a two-stage process. We're gonna do this first at this price. It's gonna take us 3 years to do it. So in the 5th year, we're gonna do this all over again, and we're gonna have to borrow more money, but we're halfway through that first loan. They will understand it. You gotta do a roof on a house now, it's $30,000. Most homeowners will do the same thing. What's the worst? I'm gonna fix this part first, in 2 years I'll fix the next part.
I just did my north roof and I'm building up the funds for the south roof.
There you go, exactly, and if it's explained to the taxpayers that way, I don't believe there'll be an issue.
Yep.
And
Okay.
by the way, we've got these Girl Scout cookies for $10,000 and everybody else.
Exactly.
I'm getting
You fly above
Okay.
Okay, moving on to new business.
Moving on. New business. We've moved on to agenda item 5. 7:17.
Okay. We have in our packets a renewal, if I understand it, of the salvage yard permit that we as a select board approved
In
recently.
Yep, March of 2025.
Okay. And I think there are minutes from that meeting.
And the application from
Oh, that's what
2025.
those are.
Yes.
All right.
They're not just random minutes stuck in the back of the packet.
Yes, I
I
had
thought the
brought
package was repeating.
No, it is not repeating itself.
I thought it was like the double.
So in essence, what you have in your packet is an application to continue the operation of the salvage yard for 1 more year. I have tried without success to get in contact with the salvage yard program to see if there's any continued compliance concerns. I've not heard back from them to date. So this is 1 more year to continue what has been happening for the past couple of years.
And I think John just alluded to something that we do know, that it's not the town's responsibility to enforce the salvage yard complaints. So that is the state responsibility. And the state would in turn come to us and say, hey, we're doing that. So we need a vote here.
You need a motion and a vote to approve the salvage yard permit for 1 year.
So moved.
I would ask,
Somebody should make the motion, not me.
okay,
I did.
You made the motion, sorry.
That's
okay, and Clyde, would you amend it at the 1 year starting at,
Today,
okay,
Yeah.
May
1 year,
4th.
starting today.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have passed the extension of the salvage yard. Now, should we hit the pathways discussion before policing?
Because we can, yes.
Okay.
Or you can open that policing discussion, it can be real quick.
Okay. I think we're all aware from the policing perspective that there is continued very negative press on Ryan Palmer and his running or his actions within the Windsor County Sheriff's Office. We have a contract coming up for renewal until July 1st.
Then June 30th, it's up.
Okay. Some towns are pulling out, and I guess the discussion is what do we do, if anything?
So given the time, right, the intention was to have a broader discussion on policing in Hartland. What you had in your packet was I'm going to call it the final report that was put together by the Policing in Hartland Committee a couple of years ago, outlining what the expectations were and what the desires were. Again, from the town perspective, there has not been much change with our interactions with the Windsor County Sheriff's Office in the past 3 months. We are continuing to see the same service being provided, and we continue to be happy with the service being provided.
And it sounds like the staffing that they use for a town understands the town, they know the town.
Right. The intent was to have, to the maximum extent possible, a dedicated couple of deputies in Hartland so they would get to know people. And that's been successful. There has been some attrition at the sheriff's office, is my understanding, in the past few months. So, but I don't believe that has had an impact on Hartland.
Right. So this contract has a 30-day term for convenience clause. So even if we renew it, we can terminate it with 30 days.
Okay.
So there's no risk, right, to us. Our only risk is if we don't have policing.
Correct. It's an internal risk of their department, which we don't really know.
Will eventually work itself.
Yeah.
So, in light of what's happening, and I believe that there may be other things that come about with the Windsor Sheriff's Department, I think we should ask John to go back out and to contact some of the area police departments to see whether or not there is any interest on their part to consider contracting with Hartland for police services. We are getting I don't know whether value is the word, but the cost for probably using a municipal police department compared to Windsor County Sheriff is going to be more expensive, but we're going to get people with better certification and things like this. And so I feel that we really should be moving forward in that direction personally.
It doesn't hurt to get.
Yeah, I just, in that article last week, they started to talk about some of the, I felt that it was somewhat biased, but some of the fiscal issues, I have a feeling that they're built kind of on a house of cards these days.
Okay. Tom, I just would remind you, I agree with you that we should go forward, but with the Safety and Policing Committee, we actually did contact Hartford, Woodstock, and Windsor with that question. And at that time, the answer was no. Let's go back and ask them now and see what we get. So,
well, there are different managers in those towns too now.
There are different chiefs, there are different folks.
Last Thursday night at the select board meetup, I'm happy we live in Hartland and not some of the other towns which are just constantly trying to close down drug houses, and then they move to another house. Not that I know we have problems here, but let's make sure that 30-day pullout is solid, and let's get the information.
So,
there's a paragraph that gives us term.
What I would like to do is I can get this information, and on June 8th we can have this discussion. It would be better, and we can talk about the contract in executive session, which is on the agenda tonight, to not enter into a contract with the intent of breaking it, if we have information.
We're not entering with the intent of breaking it.
Right.
If we decide to enter a contract, we're entering the contract.
Yeah.
We're doing research, and in 6 months, we have a better prospect. Then we can.
Or the service from the department is declining.
Still declining. We always have our ability to break with 30-day notice.
Right. So we'll get more information and have this discussion. Okay.
Okay. Let's go on to the Pathways Consulting. John, as we know, we asked John to go back to Pathways to see if they would freshen up the report. And I'll turn it over to John.
Yeah, the reason it's in the packet is I think, Trace, you provided some feedback at the last meeting about not wanting to pay to redo work. And this change order kind of talks about redoing some of the work that was done, albeit in 2024. So it's the work that they did was stale. This change order was more than I anticipated it being. Again, we have the money to.
But help me understand, the change order is 8,680?
Correct.
Okay.
Ooh,
So that original,
what's
the original contract?
That was the original contract amount for 30,690 was what we paid them to do, the original assessment.
I thought it was like a 90,000.
No. So again, I'm happy to move forward, but again, some of the concerns that were brought up at the last meeting were that we don't want to kind of repay for work.
So instead of walking the road, could they just drive slowly and save us some money?
So again, these are
the as well. Hey, we'll buy them a really nice pair of running shoes so they can run the road.
We can move forward with the change order, providing that feedback, asking them to expedite the work to the maximum extent possible. But knowing that and seeing if we can prioritize this project so that we can get the results so that we can move forward with the funding discussion.
Yeah. I think if this is any indication that the prices in this area of engineering and construction have gone up, they're not going to pause going up. So let's get it done.
Okay. So
but this is pricing. They're going to update the pricing. It's not clear to me if they're going to make a recommendation of how to approach the construction.
So that's been a discussion that I've had with Scott from Pathways. That's the expectation. As a part of this is also we're going to update everything, update the information, have conditions change, pricing we know has changed, but also if this is the budget, right? Let's say it's $4 million. What is their recommendation to approach the use of $4 million on the Quechee Road?
I just think the sentence needs to be in the change order that says we're going to recommend the approach for the construction.
That's fine.
I think that's been our expectation, so let's make sure it's there.
It's just not written down.
Yeah. So then with that, if we can make that change, because this is above $5,000, we would need a motion to amend the contract to sign the change order.
All right, then I will make a motion to approve the change order with Pathways Consulting to update the pricing, update their analysis and pricing for the Quechee Road repairs, as well as provide a recommendation on how to approach the construction for $8,680.
Is there a second? I'll second it. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay.
There's four ayes and one
Reluctant aye.
Was watching your, waiting to see.
That's a lowercase. Okay, let's move on to the town manager update.
Okay, so Phil already touched on it. Green Up Day was a success. They filled the dumpster. Big thanks to Ginny White again for organizing Green Up Day. The demand letters were sent out for delinquent taxes. 11 demand letters went out, which is again higher than it has been in years past, but reflective of where we are with taxes.
Where are we now as far as?
303,000.
So they are slowly paying.
It's slowly coming down. Yeah,
Slow.
it's come down 390,000 since February 13th.
Yeah. We now have organized and contracted with folks to do weekly cleaning at Damon Hall and the rec center. We've contracted with somebody to do cemetery mowing, and we have a part-time person coming in the afternoons to do kind of odds and ends work. So with the help of 2 companies and 1 individual, we have temporarily replaced Rob for the next few months. So speaks to what Rob is doing on a daily basis.
Good news.
Yep. So we're in good shape there. Following Green Up Day, so today the crew cleaned up the pit. They recycled all the tires and all the metal that had been collected in the previous few months. And then just for your information, the farmers market will be outside this summer, as it has always been. We are going to reserve Damon Hall on Fridays for them for if it's rainy. And they have a certificate of insurance, so there's not a concern there, but it will be inside in case it rains, so they can continue to have it. In light of time, we'll call that sufficient.
Future agenda items, capital plan, North Hartland covered bridges. Do we have the date for that?
That's the next meeting.
Okay.
May
15th. Have you notified the residents?
Mailings went out? Yep. Not May 15th, Martin. That's not correct.
No, you're right. 18th. Thank you.
It's like that's not right.
18th.
So it'll be the whole second meeting in May.
And we're waiting to hear for the VTRANS traffic committee.
Yes.
Okay.
Finally.
Town highway policy is been kicking around, and it's been a lower priority, so let's hope we can do that. I think we're all waiting for the health officer report.
Yep. So again, they had until the end of April. So it's now just the beginning of May. So I'll check in with the health officer to see if any of the ones that we talked about were brought into compliance.
Okay. There's one piece of correspondence. I'm not sure if there's anything else.
Nope. Just one piece of correspondence.
Mark Peeler has been reaching out with complaints about the material in the town pit. John and I went down to look at it. John just mentioned that it was cleaned up. My response to him also pointed out that it's sheltered on 4 sides, not that it doesn't eliminate the possible contamination from the materials. So I just have talked with John, and I hope our highway crew and the school highway crew will maybe recycle on a more regular basis and be conscious of anything that's there that is a pollutant. And we reach out to the elementary school and say, it's just not your place to dump things. So,
They're dumping stuff in the pit.
They occasionally bring things down to the pit. Yeah. Metal, the school. They brought some chairs down last year, the year before. So.
Can we have the sheriff give him like $1 million fine for littering?
Per chair.
Put that, put that into the town budget.
Okay, we have 2 executive sessions tonight, so I need a motion to enter that, and then we'll take a break.
All right, then I'll make a motion to enter executive session to discuss contract under 1 V.S.A. 313 small a 1 large a.
Is that the contract one, or is the first one?
That's the yes.
Is that the right one?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the second one?
So one is to talk about contractual services with the town.
Okay, so let's do that one first.
Oh, I gotta get it written. So we're doing 831A. 8A1A.
A1A.
And you're gonna second.
Well,
it's the way it is.
I want to make sure that I want to excuse John for.
That's the second one.
That's the second one?
Yeah.
Okay, I second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay.